everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Kathy at Attic Treasures, etc. And today we're going to finish ideas number 6 through 10 in my 10 ways to use narrow scrap strips that you have probably a pretty big stash of. So in my last video we made these 5 items. So we had let's see, we took a piece and we embossed the whole piece and then punched butterflies out from it to make some embellishments. We made a strip of strips, and from that we created this nice journal card. Then we made some paper ruffles and did some weaving on this for a journal card. So why don't we move on now to idea number 6. Okay, let's move on to idea number 6, and this one is picket fence, and this is a really fun one to do. So I'm just pulling out a few strips of scrap paper that I think I might use, and I've taken a card and again I've covered it with a dictionary page and sewn around it. Rounded the corners, inked the edges, and then I just stamped a little background on it using the Tim Holtz wildflowers. Now, he's not sponsoring me, I just happen to like his products. You can use whatever background you like, and the idea here is to just have a couple of cross pieces and then some uprights. Okay, so let's put on the cross pieces first. They don't have to go all the way across your page. Okay, we just need two cross pieces. And I think 2 of these will work just fine. Double-sided paper, but I'm just going to use one side, the more brown side. Inking is obviously optional, always. Now, if you don't have a sewing machine or you don't like to sew, you don't have to sew around. You can just do some faux stitching. I just really like to use my sewing machine because I like to sew, but also because it helps whatever I've adhered to the journal card to stay in place. So you can find sewing machines at thrift stores. Just make sure that there's a place for you to plug it in and try it. Otherwise, Walmart carries Brother sewing machines for fairly inexpensively. I think I got mine as a backup machine when my good machine went on the fritz. I think it was like $79 or something, which isn't bad. Okay, so I've got my 2 cross pieces, and then I'm going to use kind of a combination of pieces for the uprights. They just need to be taller than the cross pieces, and I'm just going to cut them into strips and give them a little point, and they don't have to be the same point. They don't have to be even points, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because it's just gonna be a little bit of whimsy. Set that one aside. And I'll have this too. This is just a pretend picket fence. One that you might find like on a lonely country road, or I don't even want to say lonely country road, just sort of a nice, pretty country road with lots of flowers and things like that. Okay, so now I'm going to ink these up. I'm just using Vintage Photo. And this is just kind of a really fun way to use up some of these really narrow scraps, or, you know, cut scraps into narrower strips, just to make something fun. Okay, we're just going to put them on, and I don't think they need to be straight. I think they're cuter when they're not. Okay, as you can see, my little fence is not evenly spaced, but that is totally okay. And I have some cute little flowers that I'm going to, well, I guess I better ink the edges of these too, just for fun. That I'm going to add around my fence. wherever I feel like it. Okay, we're getting all kinds of cuteness here. Now I want some little round circles, and where I usually go for my little round circles is my hole punch. Oh, there we go. So I can just put a little tiny dab of glue right there and take one of these little circles and give this flower a tiny little center. How cute is that? Okay, and then let's see, can add a little butterfly. I better make sure I can get my other little image on here. Okay, let's put that on first. This is from Peter Rabbit, little Beatrix Potter image that I just think is adorable. Let's put that little butterfly right about here. So cute. And then I do want to put a sentiment on there, and the one that I wanted to put on there is do your best. Put it right up there at the top. How's that? Another little journal card done. Isn't that adorable? Okay, so that is Picket Fence, idea number 6. Okay, so we're ready for idea number 7, and this one is called Herringbone. This one is a little bit more complicated, but not terribly so. This is one where you kind of have to have the pieces all roughly the same size, and I have these about 1 inch by a quarter, so 1 inch by 1/4. And I'm just gonna set them all down here, and some of them we might need to trim a little bit, but that's okay. So we're just gonna pretty much put them in whatever order we want. I'm gonna use my art glitter glue, and this is one where you really need to have a book page or some sort of pattern. Book pages, I mean, who doesn't have like a bazillion book pages? So and because some of the, especially around the edges, some of the background is going to be showing. Each part gets glued on separately. I made a whole cover this way, and I think I did a video on it a while back, and it came out super cute, but I was doing it with wallpaper. Okay, so you put one on. I guess I should have measured this a little bit better. So I've got down here, I've got this 45-degree angle here, and that's where I want it. I want it right at the 45 degrees. Here, let's get it lined up there. I want to cover that corner, but I want it to be at 45 degrees. That's kind of my anchor piece, I guess you want to call it. So I've covered up the corner. I put that piece on, and like I said, these are going to be trimmed when we're all done. Then the next one, you start back up at the top, and you go you just butt up the short end against the long end here and along the top. So I have my the corner of this one right at the top, and I use this one to cover it all the way, so that none of the corner is showing. So I've got my second piece on, and then the third piece. You can ink all these up ahead of time, but you know, I didn't. The next one goes here, like so. So it is, so I've got it lined up here on the bottom, and it is, I don't have it against the bottom like that for the first row. I have it against the long side, but so that these sides are even. And you just keep going along like that until you get to the end, and then you start a second row. And this is one where you can do it totally random, or you can kind of pay attention and do a pattern. When I did the cover, it didn't even start out to be a cover. I was just using up some strips of wallpaper, and I did it sort of by color, and then I just decided to use it as a cover, and it worked out really well, and I really loved the journal that I ended up making with it. It was called Child's Garden of Verses is what it became, and I'll put a link to that one below where I did the cover, and then I think I did a flip through. That was really fun to make. I hope you can kind of get the pattern that I'm doing here. So this will be the last one on this side, or on the, along the top. And then I'll start on the second row, and then I'll just, let's do it this way so we get more of that pattern. I'll start on the second row, and then I'll do fast forward through the rest of it so I don't have to talk through the whole thing. So the second row, you just go right up against that first one so that it meets along the long edge of this one and along the long edge of that one, if that makes sense. And you just keep following this pattern all the way down. I'm trying to make it so I don't have the same exact pattern right next to each other. And see, now this overlaps a tiny little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip that off just a little bit. Snip a tiny little bit off. And you'll see that does happen sometimes, and that's okay. It's going to happen right here too. See, there's a little bit of an overlap, but that's, it's not that big of a deal really. Just keep going along, and you can see where the text shows through, and that's okay. That's why I go ahead and cover the index card. Okay, so you can see I've got the first two rows done, and it's already looking really cool. So now I'm just going to fast forward through the rest of it, and I'll talk to you on the other side. Okay, so now I'm going to trim, and then I can take some of the trimmed off pieces and fill in this. And that, again, that's totally optional. If you want to just leave it that way, that's totally fine. Let the text show through. Either way works. Okay, so I can take some of these and add them back in, maybe. Okay, I've let it dry. I inked the edges a little bit with some vintage photo, sewed around the edges, and then just slightly rounded the corners. And now I'm going to take some of this Distress Collage Medium and just go over the top of it. This is optional. Sometimes I use the Mod Podge gloss just to kind of enhance the colors a little bit. But I'm just going to use this, and what I think this does is that it helps the edges stay down in all these little pieces. So Mod Podge would work just fine, or maybe just some thinned down glue. And then I also have a couple of things that I want to use to embellish it with. One of them is these little, they're called transparent wings from Tim Holtz. And I used my Michael's discount, my coupon, to get these. And I have found that the Distress Collage Medium works really well for adhering these without any glue showing through once it dries. What I like about these is that it allows you to see through the embellishment, through the butterfly, to what's behind it, and I really like that look, especially on something like this when you've got a lot going on in the background. And I also want to adhere this. This is one of the little flower embellishments from Ideology. I think it's the Botanicals series. And then as an embellishment, also a sentiment. I found this in a book, Life is the Flower of Which Love is the Honey. So I like to pick up books with, quotations and poems and things like that in it, and find something that seems meaningful to add a nice sentiment. There. Okay, so that is idea number 7, herringbone. And we're ready to move on to idea number 8. Okay, so for idea number 8, we're going to make frames. And this is something that you can do with some really skinny strips. But what I'm doing here is I'm going to start out with something a little bit bigger, just to make it easy on myself. But I have made these like this right here. I use these out of small strips. But just for fun, I'm going to start with a bigger one. And I'm going to cut 4 1/4-inch strips. But I just like the pattern of this, and that's why I'm using it. Actually 3, because they're long enough, and then one of them I'm going to cut smaller. Well, I'm going to cut them all smaller, but I'm not sure how tall I want them to be. So I'm going to start with 3 and then work from there. Okay, so I have also this piece, and this is going to be the background. And I have an index card that I covered with some dictionary page, and then also with some of the collage paper from Tim Holtz, just because I wanted to do sort of a botanical or a specimen or whatever you call it. So I'm going to see how big I want this to be. And I'm going to go about like that and about like so. This is going to be the back of the frame. So now I want to take these pieces and I'm going to trim off in a 45-degree angle. So I'm using the line on my mat. If I was an accurate cutter with scissors, I would just cut a 45-degree angle, but I'm not. Okay, there's one. Now, that's going to go like that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it in half. There we go. And we're going to do that same thing using that as a template. Okay, so these are for the long side. Go like that. And then I also want short ones to go across the top. So I'm going to trim these to the length, or the width, I guess, of the frame. We need 2 of those. And of course, you can use any thin scraps for this as long as they're the same width. They don't all have to be this, from the same. Okay, so I want these. This is the inside. Okay, so I want it to fit there. I'm going to cut that off. So it goes like that, and then this one is the other side. So that's the top, and then I want the bottom to be the same as the top. Now, I like to ink these for this particular project because of what I'm going to put inside the frame. Ta-da! A cute little frame. Now what I want to put inside of it is this little mushroom. First I want to add this stamp, and this is from the Tim Holtz collection for, I think it's specimens. And I'm just going to put it down at the bottom. The mushroom will go right on top. Okay, I love that. And you can put it on this card with maybe a little field label. And let's ink up the field label. And I think we need a bug. Yeah, definitely we need a bug. Okay, perfect. I love it. So there we go. Frames. So that was idea number 8. Okay, so I have a card prepared here, again with dictionary page on it. I think it's always a good idea to have a dictionary page or other book pages prepared on cards. And I'm going to ink around the edges with something bright. And I think for this one I will use Seedless Preserves. Okay, so I'm also going to put a little bit of a background on here just to sort of put something behind the image that I'm going to use. Probably like that. And I'm going to use Seedless Preserves again. And these stamps are from Bow Bunny, I think. I will try to link everything that I'm using that you can purchase in the description below. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little vase, and I'm going to use this paper to do it. And I'm just taking this little scrap, and I'm kind of just making sort of a vase shape, like so. Like that. And I'm going to take some of the skinniest strips that I have and put them sort of what you would call in the vase to make to be the appearance of stems. So I'm just going to cut these off, and then I'm going to glue them onto my card. It's like arranging flowers because that's kind of what you're doing. I have a lot, so I can make as many as I want. And I'm going to take some black soot and go around the vase. And then add my flowers. So I have my little stash of flowers here. Not sure which ones I want to use yet. And I like to layer them too. Well, I've only got one proper leaf, like I would want to use. So what that means is that I can take another piece of scrap and make another leaf, because I want to. I mean, I want, not only do I want to do it, but I want 2 of them. So I'm just going to basically use this as a little template. I have a die for these, but I need to make more, which is another project that I'm going to be doing with some of my scraps, probably later today. Just ink up the edges a little bit. Okay, now I'm just going to glue these all on. Let's give this one a little bit of an inking. I am almost out of these little flowers, so I'm going to have to definitely die cut some more. Little butterfly never hurts. I'm just going to touch him up with a little bit of Gilder's paste wax on the edges. So I ran across this little box of goodies at a thrift store or Dollar Tree or something, and it's got some sequins in it. So I thought it would be fun to put some sequins in the center of some of these flowers. Probably be easier to put the glue on the flower than it is to put the glue on the sequin. What else is in here? Oh, that is cute. Okay. This is the first time I've used these, but oh my goodness, how adorable. What's in this one? Okay, that's precious. Then, just because I want to, I'm going to take some liquid pearls and just put a little dab right in the center. Okay, this is the part where I always have to be super careful not to touch the liquid pearls until they, oh, we forgot to do the butterfly. Okay, heavens to Gurmurgatride. Let's glue down the butterfly. Be very careful not to touch the liquid pearls. Okay, since I realized that not everybody has a sewing machine, what you can do instead is just do some faux stitching around the edges. There. And for the final touch, we need a sentiment. Oh, wait a minute. The butterfly needs some antenna. Here we go. We need a sentiment. So I took my little Dymo labeler and made the word bloom. I like this Dymo labeler because it's cursive, sort of. And I think it's super cute. Another one my husband found for me at the thrift store. He's an awesome thrift store shopping partner. There. Okay, that was idea number 9. So I really have to set this aside because I always mess up the liquid pearls. Okay, so for idea number 10, we're going to make some tabs because we all use tabs in our junk journals, and this is kind of a nice handy little thing to have on hand. So you can use an envelope punch board like I have here from We Are Memory Keepers, or if you don't have one of these but you have some small file dividers, you can use that as well, and I'll show that one too. But I've taken a strip of a scrap strip that's about, this one is about 1.5 inches wide, but you can go a little bit smaller than that, and I scored it down the middle, and now I'm just going to put it in here, and I've got the edge up against this this little hole right here, and that's where I'm going to make my first punch. Then I'm going to go to about, I don't know, to the H. I'm going to line this up with the H on here, if you can see that. So I'm going to line it up with the H and make another one. And if I want it to be a little bit bigger, I can go a little bit further down. And so you can just make a whole line of these, a whole strip of them, like that. So now I've got 3 tabs on here. I can just cut them off as I need them, and I can keep these in an envelope or something just to have on hand. Now, if you don't have a punch board, you can do the same type of thing with the file folder, simply by taking a strip and folding it in half. This one I better burnish down a little bit better with my bone folder. Do it on this side. And then you can just simply draw the shape. So then you can just cut them out, kind of hold the pencil mark up to the light so you can see it. And then you've got some tabs that you can use in your junk journals. So you don't need fancy equipment or anything. You just, and you can freehand these too if you want. I mean, you don't have to use anything special. So there we have it. There are 10 ideas of things that you can do with scrap strips. So let me pull them all out so you can see them again. See what we did. We have butterflies that we embossed and punched, and we have some ruffles, some paper ruffles, and then we had a strip of strips that we cut some off of and turned into a cute cluster. Then we took some and we made a woven pattern. Made some journal cards and a picket fence. Herringbone, we made this frame. Then we did the flowers and the vases, which I'm still trying really hard not to touch the liquid pearls. And then we made some tabs. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll let me know which one was your favorite and which one you think you'll try. If you did like this, please give me a thumbs up. I would love to hear your comments and see, if you've made anything like this before, or if you have other ideas to use the strips, please let me know in the comments. So thanks for joining me. Please like this and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And I do answer all the comments, so feel free to leave them. I really enjoy that. They really make my day. So happy crafting, everybody. Let the serendipity find you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.